What are you going to do when the tape shows you gave the other team the ball on a silver platter? The Chiefs walked into Everbank on Monday night feeling like themselves for long stretches. Rhythm on offense, Mahomes throwing darts, Travis Kelce doing Travis Kelce things. Then the game learned a new song, self-inflicted. A 31-28 loss, a 99-yard pick six, a kickoff that bounced out of play, and 13 flags that turned Kansas City's stat sheet dominance into a scoreboard defeat. This was not one brutal play, it was a string of tiny assassins. ESPN.com, you can say Mahomes played well enough to win. 29 of 41, 318 yards through the air, a rushing touchdown, and still the leader of the box score. He scrambled for 60 yards and showed the kind of improvisational magic that usually ends games the other way. But the one costly throw, the 99-yard interception returned by Devin Lloyd, punched the Chiefs in the ribs when they were trying to breathe out. Big plays cut both ways, and on that play, the tape will sit in Mahomes' highlight reel as a rare, ugly stain. And then there were the penalties. 13 flags for 109 yards. 13. That's not a bad moment or bad quarter. That's a theme. Coach Andy Reid said with numbers already screamed, we had 13 penalties to their 4. Whether I agree with them or don't agree with them, it doesn't matter. They called them. Translation, excuses don't win games. Discipline does. Field position gifted away repeatedly is a slow-motion suicide for teams that live and die by margins. X, formerly Twitter, let's break down how a game like this derails. Start with the turnover. The Lloyd pick six wasn't a fluke. It was a timely, violent play by a defender who read the route and turned momentum into immediate scoreboard leverage. Mahomes' interception flipped a drive in Kansas City's favor into 7 Jacksonville points. And in a 31-28 game, 7 is everything. Then, layer mistakes on top. A kickoff out of bounds that handed Jacksonville the ball at the 40 with 1:45 left. Penalties that repeatedly erased progress and gave the Jaguars free first downs, and a late-game sequence where small errors accumulated into a clock that couldn't be controlled. The sum of those parts isn't pretty. There's a psychological element, too. When a team racks up penalties, it's rarely just about one player. It's a room problem. Technique slips, communication fractures, focus phrase. Andy Reid's public tone after the game was brutal, not in anger, but in focus. A veteran coach calling out a symptom and demanding a cure. He could have chosen platitudes. He didn't. He named the rot penalties and self-inflicted wounds. That matters because leaders who sugarcoat lose credibility. Leaders who name the mess can begin to fix it, if the players listen and the coaches actually change the reps. X, formerly Twitter. Special teams deserve a paragraph and then some. Harrison Butker's kickoff out of bounds, a 5-yard gift of field position, was the kind of tiny arithmetic mistake that becomes a final exam. Positioning at the start of a late drive determines play call options and quarterback comfort. Give the opponent the ball at the 40, and you've shortened the test by half. Then watch a veteran like Trevor Lawrence make precise plays, and the lead evaporates. The difference between a winning season and a headline is sometimes 2 yards on a kickoff. That's why special teams coaching is boring and essential at the same time. Arrowhead Pride. Now the practical stuff. What has to change and how fast? First, accountability must be surgical, not performative. Penalize in practice, not just in the press conference. Screw up in a meeting and you lose a rep. Screw up on a kickoff plan and you drill it until it's muscle memory. Second, simplify late-game scripts. When teams are unraveling, the fastest way back to control is constraint. Quick outs, high percentage reads, clock control plays that limit variance. Third, public faith must be paired with private correction. If players see the coaches defending mistakes publicly while doing nothing in practice, the message is hollow. Reid's honesty invites action. The front office and staff now have to match the talk with corrective measures. ESPN.com, what about Mahomes? He said something useful after the loss. This isn't a talent deficit, it's an execution deficit. That distinction matters. Talent gives you margin, discipline secures it. If Patrick continues to make elite plays but keeps coughing up turnovers in tight windows, the team will be hostage to variance. The remedy is blunt: fewer gambles in the middle, clearer risk thresholds from the staff, and more structure in critical sequence play calling. Great quarterbacks still need guardrails. ESPN.com, there's a longer-term strategic angle too. The Chiefs have the core to bounce, Reid, Mahomes, Kels, Chris Jones, but the NFL's depth chart is ruthless. A 2-3 start doesn't doom a season, but it does compress margin for error moving forward. How the team handles the next 2 weeks says everything. Do they repeat the same sloppy habits against the Lions? Or do they tighten the screws and make practice look like a clinic on fundamentals? The former invites panic. The latter rebuilds confidence, ESPN.com. And the human angle, the sticky part, is confidence. Kickers, quarterbacks, and whole units can lose the invisible currency that makes tight plays tilt your way. Fixing that isn't a motivational speech. It's repetition, targeted coaching, and small, winnable moments designed to rebuild trust. You don't fix a kicker's mechanics with a press release. You fix them with cold, patient reps and a plan that eliminates choices that lead to mistakes. Same for the offensive line. Same for penalties. Grind and method beat emotion. SI, here's the concrete short-term script I'd recommend to Reid's staff. 1. Strip late-game play calling down to 5 high-percentage plays for 2 weeks. 2. Add a special teams-focused practice day, not a pep rally, a technical clinic. 3. Rotate accountability. Publicly back Butker while privately increasing his reps and setting a contingency. 4. Spend a full practice series on penalty avoidance. Pre-snap reads, alignment, and hand placement until the muscle memory returns. If you want playoff-level teams, you have to engineer playoff-level habits midseason. KansasCity.com. Final thought, the line that matters. Games aren't lost in one play. They're lost in the accumulation of small errors that become intolerable at the worst possible moment. Monday's loss wasn't a cinematic tragedy so much as a slow unraveling. The interception, the kickoff, the flags. The Chiefs still have the architecture of a champion. The question now is whether they'll treat this game as an object lesson or a recurring headline. If Reid and this staff do the boring work, the tedious drills, the candid film sessions, the accountability that hurts a little, this can be the turning point. If they don't, the tape of this night will be the one people show when they ask, when did the dynasty start to fade? So here's the hook for your feed. The Chiefs' fate this year won't be decided by a highlight reel. It'll be decided by how painfully ordinary and disciplined they can become, starting tomorrow morning. If you had Reid's headset for 48 hours, what would you call? Quick game only? New kickoff rules? Or would you bench the first person who gets flagged twice in a game? Tell me one brutal edit you'd make and why. The best answer gets unpacked next. Andy Reid didn't sugarcoat it. After the Chiefs' gut-wrenching 31-28 loss to the Jaguars on Monday night, he pointed to something painfully obvious and easy to measure: penalties. 13 flags to Jacksonville's 4. That kind of self-inflicted damage isn't theoretical. It hands the opponent better field position, kills momentum, and turns solid performances into losses. You have that many penalties, you give up field position, it's the score that matters, Reid said bluntly. Patrick Mahomes did his part, 29 of 41 for 318 yards, a touchdown, a 60-yard day on the ground, and plenty of jaw-dropping throws. Travis Kelce caught 7 balls for 61 yards and a score. Kareem Hunt chipped in with 2 rushing TDs. On paper, the offense moved and produced. But a 99-yard pick six in the third quarter and a late kickoff that went out of bounds handed the Jaguars both scoreboard swings and a shortened field in the game's final minute. Those moments turned a likely Chiefs victory into a last-second disaster. That's the ugly math of this season so far. Flashes of brilliance undercut by execution errors. The Chiefs are 2-3 now, and Reid's message was aimed at fixing the little things that compound into big losses. Penalties, special teams execution, turnovers. It isn't a sermon about talent. It's a coach demanding attention to process. Clean up those chores and the team's elite pieces, Mahomes, Kelce, the defensive front, can do the rest. Ignore them, and this stretch keeps spiraling. Practically, what has to change? Tighten the penalty profile. Pre-snap discipline, false starts, and hands to the face have to go. Overhaul kickoff technique or placement to avoid gifting opponents prime real estate and reduce mental errors in critical moments. Those are repairable issues, not schematic overhauls. Reid and staff will drill situational football until it becomes muscle memory. 2-minute defense practice, scripted third down stops, and live reps that mimic the stress of the final minute. Psychologically, Monday's result is dangerous because it feels avoidable. Players replay the final 90 seconds. Camps talk. Confidence gets tested. The antidote is immediate accountability and visible corrective work. If the Chiefs respond with cleaner play and fewer self-inflicted wounds in their next outings, this becomes a blip. Let it fester, and it becomes a season-defining slide. Next up is Detroit at Arrowhead on October 12th, a chance to stop the bleeding at home. The blueprint is simple. Play like you deserve to win, and don't hand the game away. Reid's honesty is a start. Now the team has to show it in penalties, special teams, and execution. One coach's blunt verdict was clear. They've lost too many games already. The fix isn't mystery magic. It's discipline.